12th of February, 8:30 a.m. Sunday. This is the follow-on video from that other one. I just wanted to show you that, because that video ended after 30 minutes, and I just wanted to show you that the abandonment, the family abandonment, because it hit the 30-minute mark, and then I stopped, and then I felt this this really deep grief. It was very childish crying, like, when a child just... Well, some of you might not do that, but just I could feel the anguish of the child, and it was just like the despair that the truth... despair and grief are different. Like, grief is quite healthy, but despair is very... you can get lost in despair, so it felt despairing, right? And I was just like the little one having the despair cry, and it's actually the sadness of just the heartbreak. It's called betrayal trauma, and the betrayal trauma that I feel from my husband, having just upped and rooted on the 7th or 6th of December, whatever it was, and the fact, actually realising, as I've shared with you on many videos, that obviously the commitment wasn't there from the beginning, because it was, when things got so hard, he would have organised counselling or a holiday, or he would have gone into resolvement he would have gone into problem-solving mode, and he would have gone into stepping up and to commit to, for better or for worse, like step up and fix up this for worse section. But he ran fast and hard. And he ran to the very people that were the predominant cause for the problems. And he wouldn't hold them to account. And I wasn't being strong enough, forcing him to hold them to account, because I wanted him to do it from his own back. I also got told that it was his time flow and he had to work it on his own. It was his time flow. I was to let him work it out when he was ready. And the betrayal trauma that I feel for this person to just be able to discard me, the cruelty of the discardment, the cruelty of the betrayal, the cruelty of the non-commitment, the cruelty of the non-love, the actual not real true heart love. It's a trigger. It's like a complete it's like a complete replay of, obviously, what, on some level, what my childhood must have been like. My childhood was very different, because I had an extremely abusive, dominating, really out of control father, who blessedly died when I was 7. So I was freed from him when I was 7. We all were. And then a mother who was not capable of giving the very bare basics of anything that any child needs. So, which is not completely true, because she told me she used to read me stories, and obviously children want to have a story read to them, and she probably did try to make food and feed it. The youngest years of when she was trying to feed us, whatever, I don't really remember so much, because by the age of 7 and up, I was doing most of the parental stuff. So that gave her the excuse and the reason to become full-blown alcoholic, because I was running the house, pretty much. But not everything. Like, obviously, she still did shopping sometimes, and so my child memory of it all was a bit... But I just know how much I did, and I know that when I was younger, someone else must have had to have been doing it. I wasn't doing it. So she must have been doing it at some point when she was younger. When I was younger. to some level. So she did do some bare basics. That's not a fair statement. But anyways, the point of the story is the abandonment, the family abandonment when I was little, and my husband repeating that same pattern of abandoning me, and he's my family. And he didn't just abandon me, he's abandoned our dogs and our cat. This lady said to me last night when I said about the animals, when I got this text message, the last text message I received from my husband, right? The only real one I've ever received. So the first one was about, I've disconnected Synergy, just heads up, you're going to have to put in your name. The second one was, the first one was, I've got a doctor's appointment. I'd like to see the dogs. I've got a doctor's appointment in Northam. I'd like to see the dogs. I'd like to see, Alvin, Zena and Ollie. But then he never made it happen. There was nothing, no message after that, ever, to make it actually happen. And he was still in Perth at that time. Pardon me, but the second message was, I've cut the Synergy account in my name. You're going to put it in your name. No biggie. Yep, thanks for heads up. Third message, very long time later, he goes, if you don't already know, I'm over in Melbourne. I've disconnected this and this. Then started complaining about some of his finances. And then proceeded to say, take good care of yourself and our furry children. And I remember saying to this lady I said to this lady last night, how's that, like, take good care of our furry children? Like, yeah, right. On 600 a fortnight, not able to work because one of them was only a little pup. Now she's a bit older. Getting them used to each other. Couldn't leave them alone because I still had to check how they were together. Plus, they're both too young to be left alone, but the little one in particular. But I had to watch their dynamics, because one was actually much older. And various other things. And I've said to her, I've had to borrow money, get vouchers to feed the animals. Like, take good care of yourself and our furry children. I said, who does that? Who just says take good care of our furry children, just disappears and doesn't think to actually keep working on them, like, I said, what, that's just so cruel. She goes, but Nadina, what makes you think he would be caring about the animals if he doesn't have the empathy and the ability to care about a human, me, why would he care about the dogs? So he doesn't actually care whether they're being fed or not. He doesn't care if they get taken to the river or not. That's why he got the ute stolen. He didn't care whether I could take him for a walk. He doesn't care whether they're alive or not. He doesn't care if I'm alive or not. He doesn't care if I'm eating or not. He doesn't care if I'm actually doing something good or not. He doesn't care. He doesn't have the empathy. Doesn't have the empathy. And that fucking breaks my heart that someone could be so lacking in empathy. But I've known it already for a long time. It's not like it's a news story. Like, I've been aware for a long time that he lacks in empathy, but I didn't realise he had no empathy. I thought he was autistic for a very long time, and I've been trying to work with this. I overcompromise constantly. Like, this lack of empathy has been one of the biggest sadnesses. His lack of empathy. Like, he'll see me faint in front of him and smash my head on something and twist my foot, nearly break my foot, and it mean nothing to him. Like, this guy. Whoa. But when I thought it was just autism, I was, on some level, I was able to sort of go, I can actually sort of forgive it. You can forgive it, and you can sort of put it in its place and go, look, well, if it's autism, you can't really help it. But if it's not autism, and if it's just outblown narcissism and self denial of life because of wanting to deny strong feelings in the self, like not wanting to heal the self and push, I have to be that numb, interrupted reaction, that's made me feel something. I've got to pull back. But then at the same time, I've seen really strong emotions come from this guy. I have seen empathy come from this guy. The list of what I could tell you about this guy that's really good is really long. So how is it that he's got all this stuff that I just was so in love with and had so much gratitude for and so appreciative of? How could that be one of him? Like, that's part of him. And then there's this other part of it, and I have seen this cruelty before, over and over again. Like, it's not like I've not seen it in the past. I just thought that it had been healed enough, or I thought that being married and being committed would mean he wouldn't let that cruelty come out anymore. So yeah, I was just attracted brought this man into my life who's triggered off all that childhood abandonment feeling. That's what I mean, like, trauma. Betrayal trauma is fucking horrendous because you go, I could have prevented this. The red flags were there. I didn't have to bring this person into my life. I didn't have to bring this current trauma into my life. I didn't have to bring this pain into my current life. I didn't have to bring this same pain from my past into my current life. And you have to work so hard at not feeling like a fool. You have to work so hard on forgiveness and go, look, please, Nadina, you believed the guy, you believed in a dream. You're not a fool. You're not a fool. But you are. Yeah, because you let the child make the decision, but you can't call the child a fool. The adult letting the child make the decisions. You can't call her a fool either. You just got to know when it's the child making the decisions, when it's the inner traumatized child making the decisions, and when it's when it's adult. And we've got so much trauma and so much inner child trauma. We haven't, like, I've done so much inner child healing since I married my husband, you see. Since I married him in October 2021 and we moved to Northern, my inner child work has escalated, you see. So it was marrying my husband that actually has allowed this healing work to occur, and that's why it's, you could say it's God's work. How could you not? It's God's work. It's God's plan for me to deal with all this inner child trauma and to parent that inner child and to feel this betrayal, abandonment, and feel it, accept it at 52 and acknowledge it and ally with it and integrate it, and to be able to move on to do God's work, so that we can go, no, it's all perfect, it's all good, it's all, because it's all perfect. It's God's plan, it's perfect, and I have to keep putting my prayers and my healing in God's hands, and that's my alarm. I've got to get ready and walk down to church. Well, I just thought I'd quickly do this video before I left to, you can't, the crying, if you heard the crying, it's a bit pitiful. Next time I might just set up a video when that crying actually happens, so you can actually hear how it sounds, because that's what a lot of you need to do. You need to actually get to that point where you let that child cry like that, and also I observe that child crying, and I just feel so much sorry for that child. You can just hear the anguish. You can hear I observe myself when I'm having my meltdowns, when I'm having my breakdowns. So I've got that ability to do that. So I'm actually observing the way the cry sounds, and you go, that is the cry of the most. That's a pitiful, despairing cry of a very desperate child. You know, that is pure grief for a child, pure despair for a child to be crying like that. So for me at 52 to let that come out, and then I'm also saying, little one, that's such a sadness. Now, we've actually recreated that. We recreated that, and I'm feeling that same feeling. That's why you're crying in my adult body. You're crying that despair in our adult body because I, like you, subconsciously help create someone else similar. We actually recreated that trauma. We created that betrayal. We're still creating it. We've got to stop it, little one. We have to stop. We have to stop bringing people into our lives that betray us. We have to stop. The loneliness of the loneliness that one feels when a parent is unavailable is one of the deepest lonelinesses anyone could ever experience, because when you're a child and you don't have a parent that you can trust or rely on, you're so alone in this world, and this world is so scary. And the worst thing is when you look around going, well, who else is there to trust? And then you look around, there's no one else to trust. That's really scary. When I was younger, I had, the alleyway and the metal garbage bins to go to get some safety. With all the rotten food, and that's the one where I heard the woman getting murdered and raped and murdered, and that was safer than what was in the house, what I'd run from. I was about when I was 1.5 or 2. But when I was a bit older, because my mum blessedly did this program to get us to Australia, and then blessedly got involved in a commune from when I was it 7 and up or 9 and up? 9 and up. When I was 9 and up, we had the, 5,000 hectares, Waitalaba in New South Wales, Ned Kelly country, tablelands of New South Wales. So I was able to go to the trees then. I had the river and the trees and the sky, and the trees were always my safety zone, and the sky. Always talking to Father Sky. So I've always been talking to God without realising it. But I got the thing healing. I just want to say, what I was trying to wrap it up. Oh, the abandonment. I've got to get ready for church. The abandonment, as a child, the loneliness, and just like having nowhere to go, the lack of safety, how scary it is when you've got nowhere to go. So when a child has to experience that, and they're living with that constant fear, they're living in constant fear, and they're never safe. That's me. That's the child in me. That's what I have to heal, and I keep trying to heal her. Keep giving her time. I listen to her, and I'm constantly shocked that there's so much more there. And that's what this YouTube channel's about too. We've got to all help heal each other, because I haven't been able to heal the abandonment part of my child. That child part of me that's scared. The part of me that was scared of being alone, not scared of being alone, the part of me that was lonely, not scared of being alone. I'm not scared of being alone. I'm terrified of loneliness. Hear the difference. I'm not scared of being alone. Being alone is fine. I'm terrified of loneliness. Loneliness feels like abandonment and betrayal. Loneliness feels like abandonment and betrayal. Look at Alvin. The problem with little Alvin is I've got to go to church, and then when I come back I take him for his walk. So he's going to hate it that I'm going to church. I gotta get up and feed him before I go to church. I better hurry up. It's a 20-minute walk. Okay, I'm going to go now. I love yous all. We'll talk more about this later, but the scariness of the petrifying terror of loneliness when we're abandoned, is huge. It's huge. It's like no words can describe the depths of the grief of that. To be that scared and that lonely. We create these relationships with God and with our animals and with our gardens, and they're real and they help. And there's got to be another way to actually really click that switch, turn that perspective. That's what I'm working on, okay? So you will see probably this heal. You will see what you're feeling and seeing in me now. That's why these YouTubes are so important, because you see this in me now. I am working on solutions to this, okay? Because this is not how God wants me to be living. Every time I feel another trauma, another deep feeling, and I'm honest and raw with it, and I acknowledge it within me, every time I go deep into the depth of that terror and that fear, in a loving place, in a gracious manner, in a self-parenting way, in an acceptance, a full surrender to my God's plan. Every time I do that, I'm allowing that trauma, that inner child trauma, to be healed. I don't even have to analyze it. It's just happening on an energetic level, on a physical level, on a frequency level, on a cellular level, on a really deep level. My inner child has been healed just by allowing myself to go deep into the feelings that she's had to endure. And I'm here now at 52. Big Nadina is here because of little Nadina, who endured all that. Tiny little Nadina. Tiny little 6-month-old, 9-month-old, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, little 3-year-old, little 3-year-old, little 2-year-old, little 1.5-year-old, little Nadina. Petrified, no safety, abandoned. She endured, she survived. She endured, she survived. And that's why Big Nadina is here. And this feeling I'm feeling, this is little Nadina's feelings. Because she needs to be held. She needs to be held. She needs to be made safe. She has done the hard work, okay? She's done the hard work. I've got to go now. Love you all. Bye. God bless. God bless.